All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insanely Air 13, as we are preparing to get underway here for our final stint for TORA's 12 hours of Sebring. Real quickly, a quick look at the drivers who will be partaking. SFM Darkser is slipping back into the number 24 BMW Hypercar. HYR Swin is back in the number 30 BMW Hypercar. Fim Racer is in the number 11 BMW. LMP Eremus is in the 822. Porsche 963 Hypercar. Joe Nix is in the number 8. And RZM Salty is going to finish out the stint in the PTG entry. For the GT category, Prius Killer 8110 is back in the number 93 VER Chevy. Ludacris, GT Shrek, Spirit of War, Arkina, and Leave are all going to be in BMWs. And time to see if we can get this lobby fired right away at the first attempt. One of the big things I'm sure you will notice is that at this stage of the event, we are now in the evening and will quickly become into outright nighttime here at Sebring. So at the head of the field, it is this man right here, RZM Salty. The 666 PTG prototype entry has been at the top in C lobby for most of the day. We're going to have to see if they can finish it off. Behind them will be HYR Swin in the number 30 machine, followed by Fim Racer in the 11, Joe Nix in the number 8, Darkser in the number 24, and LMP Aramis in the 822. With all the stuff that has happened to the 822 entry thus far, I am honestly surprised that they have not pulled that car. They are still out here rolling. Honestly, major props to them. In the GT category, things are looking a little bit different, is the Ferrari, the 825, which will be driven by LMP Elements. I'll have to be very careful not to confuse Elements and Aramis throughout the event. Behind them will be the 555 of OSM Hold. So Ferrari and Lambo have been by far the best in this lobby. TNR Blade will be starting third in the Mercedes. Fourth will be Ludacris Speed here in the BMW, the highest of the BMWs thus far. Then GT Shrek in the number 28, followed by LMP Juicebox in the 824 machine. Then Scorpio will be in starting 7th in GT in the number 769, followed by Prius Killer in the number 93, Spirit of War in the number 31, RDE Flame in the 100, and then Nismo in the lone Acura entry will be 11th. 12th will be Banzin. 13th will be NWR Arkina, who very nearly runs into the back of the field there. That's not exactly ideal, to say the least. And then Delieve in number 12 will round out the back of the field. And that will be our event. We still have 6 prototypes. We have lost a single GT entry. We are down to 14 GT entries at this stage of the event. And we'll be getting underway here shortly in about 90 seconds. So it seems pretty obvious that RZM Salty is in the best position in today's event for the prototypes. For GTs, though, between Elmans and Hold, it will be pretty interesting. The Ferrari and the Lambo have both been fantastic in performances thus far today. I'm very interested to see how that's going to turn out. And if we're lucky, we may not have to reload the lobby, and that should save us quite a bit of time here. We've actually been very fortunate in C Lobby. We're not falling too far behind. All right, and they're off. And we'll see the field drive by here before we take the green flag just after they get under the bridge. This is basically the only night stint of the event here at Sebring, so things will be a little different. Cars will handle slightly different here. Oh, and Deleve has already lagged out. What in the devil? And Darkser as well. And now a bunch of drivers. And it seems like Deleve has lagged out at the last possible moment. And we are not going to go underway. If Deleve had stayed with us for about another minute, we probably would have gone anyway. But for Deleve's sake, at least, they will get to attempt one more time. Well, we'll knock out another ad break here then. So that way we can try and get a little bit ahead of the demand here before we get back onto the track. All right, well, we're back at Sebring, and they'll try to get the field lined up properly once more here. We know RZM Salty is going to be at the head of the grid. And we'll go ahead and run through the field one last time before we get onto the track here. Again, like I've said, the 666 machine has been one of, if not the best, in class thus far in C Lobby. Then it will be followed by HYR Swin, Fim Racer, Joe Nix, SFM Darkser, and LMP Aramis. Then you get to the GT category, and it is LMP Elements, followed by OSM Hold 320, OSM Hold 320, TNR Blade, Ludicrous Speed, GT Shrek, and then LMP Juicebox. After that will be Scorpio in the Acura, followed by Prius Killer, who we should see pulling up behind shortly here. There we are. Followed by Prius Killer, then Spirit of War, RDE Flame, Nismo, who is in a Acura and not a Nissan, then Bannon, Arkina, and Deleve. Again, this is the one. We have to hope that they're able to stick around for the running here. Real quick, doing a last-minute check for the distances right now. Triple Six coming into this is 8th overall in prototype, ahead of all but 2 prototype entries thus far, interestingly enough. It's a little hard to get a good idea as to where the GT cars are on top of each other right now, but it looks like at the moment it would be the LMP Esport Team Spirit of Race, the Ferrari entry. They are 9th overall in GT category, so there is a possibility at getting top 10 honors for the stint winner, for C Lobby winners, if they can keep this final stint together. As the field is underway once again, can we actually get underway this time? The field going to the bridge, and they're off for the final time today, and immediately there's action at the back as Darkstar, Joan Nix, and Aramis are immediately all on top of each other. They are going to be 3 wide under braking immediately at the back of the prototype field. Prototypes did not waste any time to cause something to happen. Joan Nix holds on to 4th, SF and Darkstar is 5th, Aramis is 6th. And it looks like their positions will stabilize back out where they were, but Joe Nix was basically caught sleeping. He was caught quacking there at the start. Meanwhile, in GT, it is a pair of Italian manufacturers at the head like it has been for a good chunk of the day. Ferrari and Lamborghini. Element overhaul. Ooh, dropped in the dirt by the Ferrari and a big twist in front of the field. Here comes the Lambo on the outside. Drag race. Oh, and holds off. Holds way off circuit. He'll be able to get back in, and I think he should be able to recover his 2nd position, but that's going to open the gap for the Ferrari, and here comes Ludacris. Shredder got up front early in stint 3 and led a bunch of laps, but couldn't keep it there. Now Ludacris is going to try it instead in the same car, and Holt has already dropped out of the top 5. There is an absolute gaggle of cars coming down in the GT field into the final braking zone. Immediately the action picks up here. The Lamborghini is out of control. He goes to the inside, makes it 3 wide. Jules Buck's on the extreme outside. He's got to be careful not to hit the wall. And they barely keep it together. But immediately immediately. It wasn't even, we not even got a full lap, and immediately there's so much stuff going on, it's hard to keep up. But it is Ludicrous Speed, who is second now in GT, trying to keep GT Shrek behind him. Elements in the Ferrari has already opened up a gap on the rest of the field, though. This is great news for him. Meanwhile, in the prototype category, the top three, Salty Swin and Fim Racer, all right on top of each other, while Darkster and Aramis have actually gotten by Joe Nix in about a lap. So whatever was wrong with Joe Nix is definitely dropped him to the back of this grid in prototypes. It's not having the performance that he was looking for at all. But it does look like for the moment the prototypes have calmed down. They've pretty much settled into their order. Elements has opened up a gigantic gap in the rest of the GT field. The real fight of interest is going to be for second in the GTs, I imagine. It's stabilized here at the front. Ludicrous and GT Shrek have pulled away from the likes of Blade, Usebox, and Hole, who dropped from starting second to sixth in just a lap around here. Moving a little bit farther back in the pack. I do want to give a shout out to Leaves, who had lagged out in the initial attempt, but he's already gone from 20th to 18th, so some things have gone his way, at least early on. Some positive things have happened for that number 12. There is a car off. That is Scorpio in the Chevrolet. Oh, and Swin has dropped a bunch of positions all of a sudden in the prototypes. What's happened here? Swin has suddenly gone from second to fourth. And suddenly Salty is under attack from Fim Racer. Remember, Fim Racer was the one who won Stint 3 in the prototypes. We didn't really spend a lot of time looking at the prototypes in Stint 3 because the GT fight was constant. But Fim did win the third stint in the prototypes. They have a twitch from Darkster, as he is trying to keep pace with Fim at the moment, and Darkster has gone off! And this opens a chance for Swin to maybe get a run, maybe try and make a dive coming onto the back straightaway. Joe Nix has completely lost pace. I have to wonder, has they damaged the engine or something? Fim's lost the corner! Darkster tries to get to the inside! No such luck, not this time. I do want to see, did Joe Nix like damage an engine or something? No, there's no engine damage. He's just slow compared to everyone else. Very much unoptimal. In the GTs, the top three are starting to close up. Shrek and Ludicrous trying to close in on LMP Elements. It almost sounds like I'm saying LMP Elephants. So a Ferrari leads two BMWs here in the opening minutes at Sebring, as the track is about to become totally dark here. The crazy thing about this, track gets oh wow, that is hard into the wall by RDE Flam! Hard into the wall in the Mercedes. A hit hard enough to launch the rear tires off of the ground, and while the engine is still functioning, basically everything else is destroyed. For the number 100 Mercedes, this is one of the worst things that could have happened for him. So early in the event. Meanwhile, we look back at prototypes once again. Fem Racer stalking Salty as he's finally, or she's finally broken away from Darkster. Darkster is under threat from Swin just behind. Fim's really throwing that number 11 into the final corner and trying to maximize the run out. Just trying to do everything to maximize straight line runs here. Salty seems to have a little bit more relaxed, consistent, almost normal line through that final corner and in turn 1. But Fim is absolutely throwing everything at the wall right now, trying desperately to figure out something. But the top 4 in prototypes all basically on top of each other in a grand stalking battle. Again, we look in the GTs, Ludacris has caught LMP Elements, so Elements may have started at the head of this field. But I don't know how long that's going to last because Shrek and Ludacris are showing significantly more pace right now. Ferrari has a slide out of the final corner. Ludacris has a run. It's going to be a drag race. We've seen the BMW in the daytime make overtakes on the outside in turn 1, but can they do it at night? Well, Ludacris just backed out. He did not want to push the issue. No, he can! He backed out so he could have a great power out, and Ludacris around the outside in turn 1. Even in the dark, the BMWs still have it. Big twist by Elements just ahead of Shrek there. OSM Hold and the Lamborghini has recovered to 4th, has actually closed in on this fight just a little bit. Is Usebox, who is 5th, leading this big pack of GT cars farther back at the moment. Ooh, Elements into the dirt. That leaves the door open for Shrek. Shrek doesn't have to look twice. He lunges and is by in the next corner. And now, Elements is under threat from Hold, and Hold is by. It's all starting to go. Balls up. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have used that term. It's all going snake eyes for the number 825 Ferrari here early on. Led the first few laps, but within 15 minutes has already dropped out of the podium positions. And for this team trying to get a top 10 result in GT overall and fighting for overall win against everyone else in the C lobby, this is not the way he wants it to go. Ludacris has fallen back as well. I missed this. Ludacris has also lost the lead and fallen to 3rd. Shrek has inherited the lead. And now Hold is back in 2nd. I did not see what happened to Ludacris, but that's a bizarre development. So now Shrek under attack from Hold. Hold lunges. Hold gets by Shrek. Shrek does the crossover in the final corner. Slides the rear of that BMW out just a bit. And Elements so sideways out of the final corner. Can't even keep up with the top 4. That Ferrari just does not seem to have any pace right now. There's no damage, it just has no pace. But at GT, it continues to be very aggressive as Shrek and Hold, who weren't even in the top 3 a bit more than a lap ago, well, the top 2 in a little lap ago, are now the top 2 drivers, and Ludacris, who fought his way to the front earlier, now has to do it all over again. Did someone lag out? Please tell me you didn't just lose someone. No! It's the Lamborghini of OSM Hold! And Hold, who had been running 2nd! Hold, who was competing for overall win out of all the C-Class GT cars! And Hold is out of it! Suddenly it's a pair of BMWs at the head of the field. Shrek and Ludacris, and LMP Juicebox in the McLaren, has suddenly made themselves known once more. So many twists and turns early on in this event here, and now Ludacris trying to run down GT Shrek. Elements is now moved back up to 4th after Hold's drop out there. Meanwhile, while all of this has happened, in the prototype category, Fim Racer has not only taken the lead, but blitzed off with it. Salty is now under threat from Darkser. So the top cars, the top entrants in both Prototype and GT coming into this final lobby, both of them so strong in the daytime. Suddenly the night comes and it's starting to get very rough for them. They need to hope that they can recover and not lose too much distance so they can win against their C-Lobby rivals and take home at least the top 10 overall in both Prototype and GT. Oh, and that's Swin who's off farther back, but this is the fight for second, and Salty just cannot keep Darkser behind. It's not like Salty is unbearably off the pace, but it's so obvious that in the Prototypes, whoever has a bit of an advantage is able to go absolutely hard and just blitz away. We see Salty dive to the inside of Darkser. The Porsche gets the position back, blocks Darkser, but couldn't really finish it, and Darkser just keeps his nose there. As the Porsche slides wide, Darkser is going to try and go around the outside. He'll have the inside going into the braking zone, neck and neck. And he's by. Nothing that Salty can do here. Needs Darkser to have some sort of mistake. Slide off circuit, because it's very obvious that Darkser is just faster at this stage of the event. Ooh, second and third both drop tires off into the dirt. Fim Racer is vanishing up the road. Swin trying to close into this fight. Big slide by Salty coming out of the back straightaway, just drifted off so much speed, and suddenly Salty is going to go from fine to second to trying to stay out of fourth. Swin has a run. But Swin's not going to make anything crazy here, not yet. Prototype's just about to catch the GT category here. About 20 minutes, well, realistically 16 minutes into the run. Darkser drops tires into the dirt. This gives Salty a bit of a chance to maybe catch the toe. Use that as a defense against Swin. The leader has just about caught Art Nismo at the back of the GT field right now. Salty gives Darkser a bit of a touch on the rear diffuser. They have a slide there by both third and fourth. No one seems to be really able to commit to moves at the moment. Meanwhile, in the GT category, Elements is fourth with Juice Box up the road in third and a McLaren. That LMP McLaren entry has been silently strong throughout the day. I can't really say silently strong. They have gone out, well, I feel like silently strong. They've not made super large moves for the most part, but just trying to stay ahead of Elements. Elements also trying to stay ahead of Prius Killer, who's having a fantastic showing right now in the Chevrolet. Outside of the two BMWs at the head of the field, you have to go back quite a ways until you actually start seeing BMW entries here. And Prototypes are now navigating traffic in the GT category. You see Fim Racer having a little bit of issue there, trying to navigate, and so are the Prototypes. There's no room. They are 3 wide in GT, and there's no room for anyone to go. Salty just says, screw this. He puts the bumper to one of the GTs and pushes them by. Darkser has lost a hunk of cars, 7, 8, 9 cars, all with a blanket on top of them. And Darkser goes from second to fourth, just could not navigate the traffic, and honestly, that was just kind of fortune and luck. But now Salty goes back into second in prototypes. Trying to muscle their way by Blade here. That is Swin right behind Salty. Swin takes a dive for a tighter line to the corner, but Salty has a better run out, but is immediately blocked by Prius. Puts the power down to get around, shoot around the outside of Elements. Now Juicebox is ahead, will beat Juicebox to the corner, and Swin is held up behind the McLaren just for the moment. And now Swin's under threat from Darkser again. A lap dealing with prototypes, and all of a sudden the prototype order from second to fourth seems to semi-randomize all over again. But pace is what wins TORA stints. Pace is what gets you results. And Darkser has more pace than Swin and Salty. As our prototypes now go by our GT category leaders, Darkser has already caught Swin. Swin is already trying to roll Darkser in, and Ludacris has gotten by Shrek, apparently. Yes, he did. So Shrek was held up by traffic, was denied the ideal line there, and now Ludacris goes back to the top in GTs. I was here before once, and then slid off and fell back to third. He needs to make sure that doesn't happen again. Top two have opened up a bit of a gap on the rest of the field, but Elements and Juicebox are starting to close in on each other for the third place here. And right now, there's still one more prototype, Zone Nix, who is still trying to make his way up through the rest of the GT traffic here. It's a bold move. Through. Well, now that everything's calmed down just a little bit, we're gonna ride on board for a lap up with Ludacris Speed. Give you an idea what a flying lap is like here in the BMW GT car at night at Sebring. For one sign onboard flyer. that was a flying lap on board with Ludicrous Speed, currently your GT category leader. I happen to be friends with Ludicrous Speed. He is a Florida native, and while he calls Daytona home, Sebring is a circuit that's not too far out away from him, and he actually has plans to attend IMSA's Sebring 12 Hours in a week's time. I imagine he would love to start that off by winning the last TORA stint, but there's still a little bit over 90 minutes of racing left. Well, not really 90 minutes, more like a little bit more than 70 minutes of racing left. And GT Shrek is going to keep him honest throughout the entire run. Also, while we were away, Darkser and Swin had a bit of a swap for position, and then they swapped back. Darkser still runs third. Swin lunges, trying to get alongside. If they can figure this out between them, they might still have a chance to run down Salty, but FemRacer has enough speed that as long as they don't have an incident, it will be knocked out for them. Also, thank you, Nana. I do appreciate that. Prototypes will have to deal with a bit of traffic here. That is RDE Flame. Also, pit stops already underway for Prius Killer, who is elected to make his first stop already, and Joe Nix, and Ludicrous Speed has just pitted out of the lead of the event. Is this a good idea or a bad idea? If Ludicrous is in completely clean air, it may not be a problem, but how spread out is the GT field? How many GT cars will he have to deal with once he comes back out? He is joined by LMP Juicebox, who is in the McLaren entry. The undercut was very strong for Juicebox in Stint 1, not as strong in Stint 3, though. But Ludicrous seems to be committing to the undercut as well, at least for the first round of stops. Coming up to a bit of traffic. That is the Mercedes of Flame that they'll have to navigate here. Flame had that big accident early on. It looks like Darkser is going to hold on to station without too much issue here. Good Lord, Darkser. You cannot get any closer to the tires than that. And it wasn't too much benefit either because Swin has the run. To the inside goes Swin. Side by side, but Swin backs out of it. Couldn't back out enough. They're still side by side. Darkser drops tires into the dirt. Out of turn one, Swin gets by, but that was a messy overtake. It was not clean at all. Swin continuing to hold station. Darkser has a run, but Swin defends the inside, so Darkser says, okay, I'll try going the long way around. Darkser has a slightly better run out, but I can hear the tires squealing as he put the power down. So Swin holds station for now. Darkser has a great draft on Swin. Looks to what will be the outside in the following corner. Nose to tail, it seems like Swin is just Darkser's better at this stage of the event. Scorpio in the GT category has elected to make their stop as well now. So Swin ahead of Darkser now. Real quickly, I want to see what's the likelihood of our prototype category drivers pitting. FemRacer could probably stay out for a few more laps, so those rear tires are starting to look a little bit worn here. They will stay out another round. Salty in second is going to stay out as well. Those rear tires really have worn out on Salty. Swin and Aramis will both pit, but Darkser stays out, and his rear tires are starting to look worn as well. Meanwhile in GT, it is GT Shrek who leads. Elements in the Ferrari is a long way back and is still being harassed by TNR Blade in the Mercedes. It was the prototype of Nix, who's already made their first stop of the day. Big slide by Elements there. So now Elements falls behind Blade. Ferrari driver just does not seem to have the pace that you're looking for. So Elements, don't go too wide, don't hit the wall! Blade pits out of third. Elements is second once more. How far is Elements pushing the tires? Not quite at 50, but they're going to be at 50 very shortly here. For your leader, GT Shrek, who's just gone through the dirt for some reason. He is at 50 on the left front. So has quite a bit of fuel left, but the front tire is falling off for our leader right now. And Fem Racer in the prototypes now pitting out of the lead. I imagine they'll be joined by Salty and Darkster, and that is exactly what happens. Also, Nismo's pitted as well in the GT category. So the fight is going to be between Shrek and Ludicrous Speed. When will Shrek pit? And with both of them having turned laps in basically clean air after pitting, who's the better? Who has been performing stronger? We have a slide by Shrek there. But all prototypes have now completed their first stop, and it is to no surprise, Fem Racer holds the top spot. But Swin has a run. Can Swin pick up any positions on the other prototypes? Nope, Salty and Darkster maintain position over Swin. Again, we look at Shrek. Will he pit this time? Yes, he has. So Shrek coming into the pits now. What of Elements? Does he stay out or does he bring it in now? And Deleve, who lagged out and forced the lobby restart, is still out here. He's going to, if only so briefly, he's going to actually lead at the line. So Deleve leads the GT category at the line. I'm going to talk about a glow-up. And all in the span of about 45 minutes. From lagging out to leading. That's a special story. Also, Arkina runs in second. They also have yet to pit. Now the question is, where is Ludicrous against Shrek? Shrek is still in pit lane. Ludicrous blitzing down the front straightaway. There's Shrek. You can see him coming out of the pits right now. Ludicrous has a run. He's got to be right behind Shrek as they come down to turns 2 and 3. But it looks like Shrek is just slightly Ludicrous is better. Shrek needs to get the heat into the tires immediately. Will be a little harder here on a darker, colder track, but I think Shrek has it over Ludicrous. So a pair of BMWs continue to be the realistic leaders, although both Deleve and Arkina still have yet to make their final stops. Well, not their final stops, their first stops here of the final stint. So the undercut did not work for Ludicrous, but he's not so far back that's really compromised him. In fact, he's already making a move. This is not corner you want to be side by side in. Who backs out? It looks like Shrek's the one who will back out. Nose to tail in the lead for GT. Delieve and Arkeen are in the pits. So this is realistically the fight for a lead, and it will become the actual fight for a lead in just a few moments here. But it looks like Ludacris is Shrek's better when they're fighting against each other, similar to what we saw Shredder in that same car in the daytime. Only difference is Shredder was holding up the entire pack of GT cars for most of Stint 3. Ludacris not really holding anyone up. He is doing a good job piecing away from the rest of the field. Third place, LMP Juicebox, is a long, long ways back right now. For Elements, the Ferrari entry is continuing to get worse and worse. It's dropped down to 7th now after the first round of pit stops is over. And this Ferrari entered as the leader of everyone in GT3 in the C lobby. Now, one thing that may help him though is that hold 320 in the Lamborghini was second, but lagged out very early on. As long as nothing goes wrong for Elements, he should be able to maintain advantage over hold, but the fight is going to be with literally everyone else. It's just a matter of trying to bring it home, get as many miles as possible, and avoid mistakes for Elements. So one interesting thing to consider here at the head of the field is Ludacris is scooting away from Shrek. After Ludacris has decided to make his stops as early as he did, he is actually going to have more tire wear. Now, he'll also be lighter on the fuel load, but he'll have more tire wear than Shrek for quite some time. But it seems like in this event, tire wear is not the big factor. It seems to be fuel load that is really the big dictating thing when it comes to outright pace. No one is really pushing their tires past that 52-53% mark, because everyone seems to realize, okay, the moment I hit 51, 52, I'm just going to start hemorrhaging time. So no one's really going hard with pushing the tires to a fall-off point, which means really for Ludacris, and to a lesser extent for Shrek here, even though they're on different strategies, I don't think their pace is really going to drop off. The pace that they've had early on is likely going to be what they have for the rest of the run. Shrek drops tires in the dirt there. Delieve and Elements having a bit of a fight. There goes Darkster as a prototype category. Drivers are blitzing through GTs once again. Fem Racer did not have a good time through the GTs this circuit around, and Salty has closed the gap down just a bit. And again, this duo still has a pair of GT drivers to contend with. Those will be the GT category leaders. They're going to catch them, I think, just after a very technical section here. They won't be side by side through this hyper-technical section, which is probably for the best. Still, if Fem Racer is held up for too long by Shrek or Ludacris, it will drag Salty right back into the fray here. Fem's going to go for a deep dive here on Shrek. No issue making that move. But they're going to be held up just a little bit by Ludacris coming onto the back straightaway. That's going to kill their straight line speed momentum, and Salty had a better run of it. Salty's closed the gap just a little bit more. Can Salty outrun Ludacris into the corner? Because if he can have a nice clean run through the final braking zone of the lap. Fem slides wide again. Ludacris slid really wide there in GT. But he'll maintain his advantage over Shrek. He had pulled away just enough. It shouldn't compromise him too much. And now the prototypes are clear of GT traffic once again. Salty trying to run down Fem Racer. Fem did not start at the front, but walked their way up the field and opened up a pretty big gap over Salty, but now the gap's come down. And for Salty in this 666 Porsche, this car has been the strongest of all the prototypes in the C lobby. They are fighting for what could be a top 10 overall. I believe it was his 8th when I looked at the times. Top 10 overall in TORA 12 hours this year. And also, obviously, winning against all the other prototypes here in the C lobby. Ooh, bit of a slide by Fim Racer there. Meanwhile, in GT, Shrek has closed back in on Ludicrous, and now they have another prototype to deal with. That is Elements. No, not Elements. That is Aramis. I apologize. Aramis goes for the dive. Kind of forces Shrek off the ideal racing line there. And can't get by Ludicrous in the corner, so this ends up holding Shrek up and works out well for Ludicrous. Opens the gap back in that gray and black BMW. Farther back in the field, this is a fight for 7th here, as Scorpio in the Chevrolet runs just ahead of Deleve. Reminder, Deleve is on an alternate strategy, trying to go super far on the tires. Scorpio is on a little bit more traditional strategy at the moment. That, I think it was Arkino who just dropped tires in the dirt up the road a bit there. One of 2 Chevrolet entrants in today's event. And yeah, it seems like Scorpio's closing just a bit on Arkina. Again, Arkina was with Deleve on that. Excuse me. Arkina was with Deleve, if I remember correctly, on that ultra long run on the first round of Fuel and Tires. Also, RDE Flame now making their 2nd stop. Reminder, Flame had that big accident in the first 20 minutes of the run. That pretty much forced them out of the order. So what we're going to do is we're going to spin the lap on board with Salty here. Give you an idea what a flying lap looks like with a Porsche prototype around Sebring in the night. Here for a full flying lap. Welcome back to Sebring. Salty has a much smoother, rounder line in that final corner, but Fim Racer just does not care. She's doing a very harsh diamonding of that final corner. Just shoots in really deep, absolutely yanks the wheel, and then powers out with as much straight line speed as possible. That should be causing some incredible tire wear on Fem's car, but no, it's the rears and not the fronts that are burning up. For our prototype leader, for Salty, he's on roughly the same strategy, just about caught them. We'll have to navigate traffic in the form of flame here. Oh, and Salty misses the braking zone! And that probably compromises the run that he was having. Might even cause him to lose a position of Darkser, because here comes Darkser steaming up with, oh, to the inside goes Darkser. Can Salty do anything? There's contact. Salty drops tires in the dirt. Darkser falls in line behind. Is there any damage to Salty's machine? No damage, so he didn't mess up on any of the shifts, but that was a lot tighter than I think he wanted it to be. That has effectively, massively opened up Fem Racer's gap to second place once more. I'm gonna have nightmares about the hybrid whine from the BMW. I don't know why, but this game has cranked up the whine of the hybrid so loud that if my cameras are in turn 1, I can hear them all the way at the complete opposite end of the circuit. It is absurd. Nose to tail. Here comes Darkser, dives to the inside. Salty pinches him down. Accelerates out. He drops 2 tires in the dirt, though, that compromises some of his speed on corner exit. But he holds the spot for now. But Salty was actually absolutely wringing the neck of that car earlier. Has now slipped back to a very distant second. We have a slide. A big slide. Here comes Darkser again. BMW looks to the outside, but there's no room. Oh, Salty, oh, slideways coming onto the back straightaway. Darkser will have a better run down the straight, I imagine. It's gonna be a drag race for second here in prototypes. Who goes deeper? Now it looks like it's Salty may have gone a bit too deep. Just can't do anything as Darkser holds a nice steady inside tighter line. Now Salty will have a little bit of draft coming into turn 1. Going to the outside. Does he try a crossover on corner exit? Yeah, he's set up for it. Does he have the speed? No, he does not. So Darkser moves into second now in prototype. Neither of this duo seem to be putting together absolutely perfect laps. It just seems to be a matter of who's making the fewest big mistakes right now. Again, side by side. A bit of door banging. Darkser has it. Darkser dropped 2 tires in the dirt on exit, though. Killed some of his momentum. I say that so many times, but that's exactly what's happening, and Salty now closes back in behind Darkser again. About nose to tail through what's commonly called the Le Mans chicane, and onto the back straightaway. This time it's Salty who has the run. A much stronger run on Darkser. Can he clear Darkser by the time they get to the braking zone? Yes, he can! Into the final corner. Darkser goes stupid wide. And Salty is coming into the pits. Salty is tired of fighting. He wants to pit. And and will be the first of the prototypes to make their second stop of the day. Alright, meanwhile, in GT, Ludacris leads. Shrek runs behind, but Ludacris is on a different pit stop strategy. We are anticipating that he'll be coming in next lap. Shrek will be staying out for several laps afterwards, and when they split prior, Shrek opened up the gap. Well, didn't open the gap, but he closed the gap down between himself and Ludacris and put himself ahead, and Ludacris had to manually fight to overtake him. Did it within a lap, but still, Ludacris needs to be aware of that. Shrek, in cleaner air, could run him down. The tire wear does not seem to be the big feature here today. It seems to be the fuel load, and yes, that in general, overcuts are stronger than undercuts, even here in the night. Juicebox runs in third in the McLaren. This entry took home second, and Stint 1 was way down the order in Stint 2, but third in Stint 3. And now they're going to pit. They'll be the first of the GT category to pit, make their second pit stop. So we are now under our second round of stops. I imagine our prototypes can stay out for a little while longer here. Oh, Darks are so close to the wall. And he keeps doing that. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to knock out an ad break here before we get too deep into the green flag stops, and then we can have a nice long run just watching how the green flag stops pay out. We'll be back. Don't go away here at Sebring. Welcome back to Sebring here. Ludacris Speed, under that caution brake, made his second pit stop. About a lap earlier than we anticipated, but he has knocked out his second pit stop. And has fallen to 14th overall, so 8th in GT. Shrek still stays out on track. The big thing for Ludacris, though, he has LMP Elements behind him. And Elements has just not been having a good time of it at all today. I'm sure this Ferrari driver would love to make some moves on Ludacris, if at all possible. Ludacris will have to be careful, knowing they'll have a Ferrari behind him, trying to weaponize the air to get by him. Meanwhile, Shrek, completely clean track around him. There is nobody in his vicinity, and he can stay out for several more laps without issue. Oh, and Elements drops tires in the dirt. So through all this has now cycled TNR Blade back up into second in the GT category. As I say that, he is pitting out of second now. So Arkina will now cycle up to second here. That is Swin, who is third in prototypes, going by, and Aramis, who is fourth in prototypes at this stage. He's going to knock out their pit stop as well. So Scorpio in the Chevy now cycles up to third in GT for the moment. But that's because he's off strategy now. GT strategies have gone through a very significant deviation and divergence from each other from top to bottom this time. Here's an interesting little fight between several drivers that have already made their stops. Right on board Prius Killer as he looks ahead to Blade, Usebox, and Nismo. All right on top of each other. A prototype was already blitzed through them. Oh my goodness, Prius, what in the devil is that? Whatever it wasn't a great idea. Usebox, after making their stop, has ended up behind Nismo, so that's really not going to help Usebox's strategy of undercutting. The one thing that should work with undercutting is that if you undercut well enough and time it, you should be able to turn a bunch of laps in cleaner air, but that's just not happening for a lot of these drivers who are making these undercuts. Because of that, they are being put under a lot of undue pressure here. SFM Darkster and Fim Racer both went ahead and knocked out their pit stops this time by. From Juicebox to the inside of Nismo. The Acura sliding wide. Now it looks like Juicebox has the position, but doesn't have it secure yet. They'll be side by side to turn one. Now he's got it. And there goes Blade. And Blade blitzes by Nismo, and Prius follows. So Nismo loses 3 positions in just a span of a straightaway and 2 straightaways and 2 corners. Darkser has actually ended up ahead of Salty after the two of them have made their second stop. Only prototype cars who have not yet made their second stop is Swin, and I imagine they'll be doing so this time by. Yep. And Swin actually has a bit of engine damage that they'll have to repair as well. But where's Swin going to end up in relation to Salty and Darkser? Alright, here goes Darkster. It looks like Darkster should be able to clear Swin without too much issue here. Yes, Darkster shoots ahead. What of Salty on Swin? No, they're going to be right on top of each other, and Spirit of War gets hit by Salty from behind. So the fight for third in prototypes now heats up. Nose to tail. Swin needs to get these tires up to temperature. Salty's already here. He's angry. He's looking to make moves. They have to navigate some GT traffic here, though. And Swin holds station over Salty. So prototypes have all knocked out their second round of stops. But we have yet to see 4 of our GT drivers make their second stop. Shrek stays out another circuit here. So we turn our focus again to this fight for third. Salty not having the greatest time of it. Oh, Salty, what in the devil happened there? Just completely bombed turn 1. There's a bit of engine damage, but that shouldn't cause it. I wonder if fatigue is getting to Salty. The car has very obviously been right on the edge of his control. We've seen him go off a few times before, and now he slips to a 4th. And as this continues, the chance of the 666 entry winning overall in the C lobby prototypes, it gets dimmer and dimmer. The chance of this car also getting a top 10 result overall across all the lobbies gets dimmer and dimmer as well. It is not looking good for the PTG 666 prototype entry. Once again, we turn our focus to the leader in GT. It is the BMW of Shrek. His tires have got some significant wear to them. I think this is the farthest we've seen anyone push their tires thus far today. But he's definitely going to go for a short stop on his third pit stop, I imagine. Or maybe shorter stop now, just not fill up the tank as far. But wow, that is way offline. And here comes Shrek into the pits. Will DeLive follow him? DeLive could probably stay out another lap if they so choose. But would you? Is he going to choose that? Or is he just going to pit anyway? And then you have Spirit of War. There's another BMW right behind. So DeLive, again, will stay out another lap. But Spirit of War will come into the pits. And now here's the real question. For GT category lead, Ludicrous Speed, can he catch GT Shrek? I'm not so sure he can. We're gonna see, he's gonna be right there. Again, the gap's open a little bit more in Shrek's favor this time compared to last time. But again, after both of these two finish their stops, Shrek is ahead of Ludicrous Speed, but only barely. And now Ludacris has to try and muscle his way by Shrek as quickly as possible. It only took him about a lap last time. How long will it take this time? DeLive is the only GT driver to have yet made their second pit stop. He's closing in. He's within the draft of Shrek. You don't want to go side by side through these corners if you can help it. That was a lag moment, and that was another lag moment. Don't know what's going on there. But Shrek is under pressure. fight for the GT category lead is alive once more, but Shrek holding the position a little longer this time than he did last time after the pit stops were done. So the overcut does seem to be the favored choice, but it's not so much that if you do an overcut, you're guaranteed a position. You need to be banging out some great laps as well. The lead finally pits out of the lead, so this will become the battle for the overall GT lead once again, as every car has completed 2 of their mandatory 3 pit stops now. How aggressive do you go, Ludicrous? How aggressive will Shrek defend? They do have a prototype coming up on them. I'll catch them in a few corners here. Does Ludicrous try and take a bet on a prototype holding up Shrek, or does he just want to muscle by him himself? A little bit of a slam draft, and now Ludicrous goes to the outside. Heavy under braking. Shrek slides wide, trying to cut off Ludicrous's run out, but he ends up spinning his own tires in the process on corner exit. That is Joe Nix, who is last in the prototypes, who will be catching this duel shortly here. Does Ludicrous want to make the move here? It would be a risky move. Shrek defends inside. Ludicrous will take a more cautious, wider line. No real move made this time by. Now into one of the most technically challenging corners, as the track basically falls out from under the car as you're turning in. All right, here comes Ludicrous. He's looking to the outside, which will turn him into the inside in the following corner. Not quite side by side through there. Joe Nix gets by Ludicrous, but gets into Shrek just a bit. Ludicrous has a better run out, but Shrek is still straight. He's still got some speed. Nose to tail. The prototype is disposed of. Here comes Ludicrous looking at the inside, going to the final corner. Shrek slides wide. Ludicrous holds a tighter line. And it looks like he's got it. It took him about 2 laps this time, but he's got it. Now can he hold it and open up the gap again, like he did last time? Shrek looks to the inside, but I don't think he's going to be close enough unless he wants to make a big lunge. Nothing. And Prius is already making his 3rd stop of the race. Yeah, there's no damage. Prius is just on a wildly different strategy. This set of fuel and tires has to last them a bit over 30 minutes. What a bizarro strategy that he has put himself onto. But Ludicrous, it took him 1 lap earlier. It took him 2 laps this time. They still have a 3rd pit stop to go, knock out. Numbers would suggest that in that case, it would take 3, maybe even 4 laps for Ludicrous to get by Shrek. But as long as these two are on top of each other, mano y mano in an actual battle, Ludicrous seems to have Shrek's number. But when the 2 of them are running laps in clean air apart from each other, Shrek seems to be the better off of the duo. Meanwhile, for 3rd, it is LMP Juicebox, kind of running solo with TNR Blade a long way back, and someone else that we really need to focus on, Elements. This car started up front, led about the first 2 laps, but in all honesty, it's just not had any real pace. Has just been dropping slowly through the grid the entire time. And this driver, this team, trying to win in GT, the only real positive for them is that Hold, who is in the Lamborghini, lagged out very early on, so they'll maintain their gap over Hold, but they still have to worry about the likes of Ludicrous, and the likes of Shrek, and the likes of Juicebox, who are all running in the top 3 positions, and those cars have been strong all day long. Now, Elements isn't massively off the pace. He's only about half a lap down, but half a lap, there's only been 5 stints prior to this. There's not been a lot of time for anyone to build up giant leads like what we'd see in a typical 24-hour Enduro that TORA would run, like at Daytona or Sebring. And Shrek has gotten back by Ludacris at the head of the field. I missed this somehow. So this time, Ludacris did not just get ahead of Shrek and scoot away. This has turned into a prolonged fight. Nose to tail. There's just no real room to make the move right now. Ludacris got him in the final corner earlier, but might have to go for a turn 1 move this time. Looking to the inside of Shrek. Drag race. The BMW is capable of making outside overtake stick, and that's what Shrek is trying to go with. But outside in turn 1 is different from outside in turn 2. Shrek backs out to cross over and shoot back by Ludacris coming out of 3. Perfectly executed by Shrek there. Incredible. They actually opened the gap quite a bit in Shrek's favor as well. Salty making their final stop. We have about 26 minutes left in the event. Oh no, please don't tell me someone else just lagged out. And that's Joe Nix, who was last in prototypes. So this won't really shake up the results here, but Joe Nix lags out of the last place position in the prototype category. The fight for GT continues here. It does seem like after the second round of stops, Shrek is the stronger of the duo, and that may have something to do with the fact that right now he's got better tires than Ludacris. Ludacris is already in the 34% wear range. Shrek is only at 17, only half the same tire wear. Again, tire wear hasn't been the massive deciding factor, but if there are two people tucked on top of each other, that would be enough to decide a battle one way or another. Traffic kind of holds Shrek up just a little bit. That is the leader, Fim Racer. It will be Darkser who will be coming up on them shortly here. Aramis is actually ended up behind Salty, well, ahead of Salty, but that's only because Salty has elected to knock out their final stop early in this event here. And LMP Elements knocking out their final stop early as well. So Elements hoping an extreme undercut can make something fall their way here, because it has been nothing but bad news for the Ferrari. Darkster around the outside of Shrek. Gets by him before the braking zone. That doesn't really up in the way this fight is playing out right now. Next driver that will catch him will be Swin. That will likely happen in turn 1. Might be a little later than turn 1. Again, Ludacris has the draft, but he's not close enough to pull out and make a move. He needs to hope that Shrek misses the line, and Darkster is going to pit as second. So Darkster will have to overtake this duo almost immediately after getting out of the pits all over again. All right, nose to tail. Does Ludacris make a move this time? He looks side by side into turn 1 again. Shrek held it around the outside to hold the position last time, and I think he can do it again this time. Does he back out early again? No, he holds it, keeps it going, goes into the dirt, but holds the position. Ludacris gets right behind Shrek. The BMW drops tires in the dirt. Bit of a twitch. There goes Swin, blitzing by. Got real close there, but no real gain for the position. LMP Juice Box in the McLaren making their third stop now. Since we've gotten to about the halfway point here, it seems like Shrek has been Ludacris's better in the fighting. Again, Ludacris will be pitting before Shrek, so Shrek would have a high likelihood of opening the gap even more in his favor when this duo finally decide to make their final stop. Everyone else is way far back from this duo who have absolutely blitzed away from the field. It's taken several stints, but BMW finally showing up with the dominance that we've known they've had. Here comes Ludacris to the inside of Shrek. As Aramis, one of the prototypes, he's going to smooth it up in the inside, in the middle of 3 wide, and Shrek gets a little bit of contact and loses a huge chunk of time to Ludacris in the process. Incredible traffic use by Ludacris. He knew the faster prototype was there, so he went for the move to try and force Shrek offline and hope that Shrek would be spooked, not only by him, but also by the prototype traffic. A genius call. Well, as we are now, we're going to knock out an ad break here. This should be the last ad break of this stint, and after this, we will stay green until the end. Oh, Element's in a big slide there. But we'll stay with the racing until the end of the stint here at Sebring. Welcome back to Sebring, and while we were away, Ludicrous Speed, Blade, Arkina, and Spirit of War have all knocked out their final stop with about 18.5 minutes left in the stint. About 8.5 minutes left to knock out your final mandatory pit stops. In prototypes, it's just FimRacer and Swin, who have yet to make their final stops. A little bit more in GT. You have Shrek, Scorpio, and Delieve, who have all still not made their final stop. And speaking of which, here comes FimRacer now, pitting out of the lead. So this should push Swin into the ideal position here, take over a lead for at least a lap. But it's very obvious that FimRacer has just been the class of the field here in this final stint, as they were in Stint 3. So after pit stops, Blade is ended up ahead of Juicebox once again. So Blade's not really been fighting for the win, but he is fighting for what could be a top 15 overall in the GT category. This Mercedes has been silently strong, not really had any big issues or big disconnects thus far. A potential top 3 could be enough to drag them to a top 15 overall result in GT. It would be a big ask, but that is what they're hoping for. Especially with OSM Hold, who is in the Lamborghini, having that very early lag out. Ludicrous might end up having to deal with traffic here in a little bit. Delieve, who has gone very far on all of his stints thus far, is at risk of being caught by Ludicrous. Scorpio runs second at the moment in the Chevrolet, and GT Shrek is your leader in the BMW. It has been a BMW-dominated stint. The question is just going to be how much longer is Shrek going to stay out? And again, when Shrek pits, he'll have the advantage of short filling. He does not have to go spend a stupid amount of time in the pits, gain a full fuel tank in. He's only going to have to be running for about, well, if he pits this lap, it would be about 14.5 minutes. If he pits the lap after that, it would probably be closer to 12 minutes. That's not a lot of fuel that you would need. Five minutes and 15 seconds to knock out the last of your pit stops. HYR Swin continues to lead at the head of the field for now. Only 5 of our prototype drivers who started are still running at the moment. Scorpio pits out a second now. Still, we have yet to see Shrek, Delieve, and this man here, Swin, make their stops. Scorpio may have to contend with this pack of cars here coming out just ahead of him. That would be Blade, Juicebox, Arkina, and Prius Killer, and then Spirit of War is just a little bit farther back from them all. You see Scorpio coming out of the pits just a little bit up the road, and it looks like Scorpio comes out just behind Prius, and Swin is in pit lane now. So how long will it take for FimRacer to get the position of the race leader back? He's tucked up behind Elements right now, really tucked up, but FimRacer's biggest strength, honestly, has been avoiding mistakes. How have they been avoiding mistakes? They're fine to back off the throttle. They're fine to give up some time if it means that they don't make contact with the lower category cars. A lot of the other prototypes have not had that patience. It looks like Fem's taking the lead back. The fight's gonna be for second, though, between Darkster and Swin. Darkster has gotten second place back. Swin's a little bit a ways from Darkster right now. Darkster's got more worn tires, but they shouldn't be in a horrible position by the end here. All right, still waiting on Deleave and Shrek is pinning now. So now we watch Ludacris. He needs to catch Shrek. He has to hope he's not lost too much time while the two were away from each other. Because every time before, when Ludacris is pinned earlier than Shrek has opened up the gap on him. And I hate to say it, but it looks like the gap has really opened in Shrek's favor this time. This could be huge for Shrek. This could be gigantic. Ludacris at the line. He's got a good run on the front straightaway. You can see the lights on Shrek's car. Shrek comes out of the pits. Ludacris sees him. He's got the run out of turn one. He's raining him down. But he is even farther from Shrek than he was the time before this one. Deleave pin with Shrek as well. So Deleave drops all the way back out of the top five once more. It is Shrek and Ludacris. TNR Blake kind of running, not totally by himself, but almost in no man's land, trying to hold station over juice box. But now, with 12 minutes left, can Ludacris do anything to Shrek? Prototypes are a long way out. They will probably catch these guys one more time, but only one more time. Ludacris cannot rely on prototypes to gather the two of them up close to each other. He's going to have to mainly go out there and catch Shrek and pass him himself, I believe. And Ludacris' tires are more worn, but he'll have potentially a smaller fuel load. But how much smaller? He's at 44%. That's a lot of fuel that Ludacris has in that thing. Wrong car. And for Shrek, he has 56. So Shrek still has a significant, amount of extra fuel compared to Ludacris. Now I have to wonder if Shrek is running all the extra fuel to give the rear end of his BMW some stability over the bumps, especially in the more mechanically challenging corners. Well, Ludacris is closed in. He's got the draft on Shrek once again. But catching him is one thing, passing him is another. Prototypes are pretty much all stabilized in their positions as long as there's no unexpected accidents, which has been kind of the feature of the prototype class in the first three stints I broadcasted at least. But as long as there's no unexpected accidents, I think they're all going to finish where they are right now. Ludacris to the inside! Squeezes Shrek to the outside, and he's going to get by him! Ludacris, it took 2 laps last time. This time it only took a lap. And he was farther behind. But he's by him again. Can Shrek fight back, though, and get back to the position? It's 10 minutes left in the stint. In the final stint. Nose to tail. But I don't think Shrek is close enough to make him dive here. Oh, he sure taunted. He sure tried to spook Ludacris out, but all drivers have made all of their mandatory stops. Bit of a slide coming onto the backstretch this time for Shrek. Into the final corner once more. For the moment, Ludacris has it, but Shrek had a good run through the final corner. He's got a good draft. Does he try to pull to Ludacris's inside? Not quite. Oh, but Ludacris had a twitch in turn 1. Here comes Shrek to the inside. And this will set Shrek up to be on the inside in turns 2 and 3 as well. And he's by. Bit of a twitch in turn 1 by Ludacris, and Shrek goes back to the top. 8 minutes and 15 seconds left. Prototypes will likely catch these drivers next lap, and will be the last time that they will have to deal with prototype traffic. Considering the amount of time left, it may not be all 5 prototypes who catch them. It might only be 3 or 4 of them. Ludacris had a really bad run that time. Just nasty, took way too much speed in, the car kind of slid out from under him. So now Shrek gets to open the gap just a little bit to Ludacris. Shrek has fresher tires. Ludacris has a little bit less fuel in the tank. That's Fim Racer who's going to catch this duo around turns 3 and 4 on the next lap. Boy, Ludacris slides really wide that time. Yeah, that was a wide slide. Shrek was a little sideways on exit, though. So it all equalizes. I think Ludacris has a setup that is a little bit more tuned for straight line speed, because he's able to keep catching Shrek in the straights. But I think Shrek has a little bit more stable corner ability in that car right now. Ludacris has made just a few more, not massive amount, but a few more mistakes in the corners. I have to wonder, and we see Fim Racer gets by, not really going to factor into the GT lead fight here. The next driver that will catch him will be Darkser. And the gap is open between these two enough. I think as this has gone on, that big bobble that Ludacris had in the first corner, I think that's going to be enough to take it away from him. I think Shrek has this. Unless one of the prototype cars get alongside Shrek in a braking zone, deny that orange and black BMW the ideal racing line, I think it's over. Ludacris dumps 2 tires deep into the dirt that time. Here comes Darkser. Again, Darkser clears Shrek before they get into the braking zone. Doesn't really affect anything this time. Oh, this time it's Shrek who drops tires into the dirt. Ludacris has a slightly better run coming onto the straight, I think. But is he close enough to get the draft? He does. He does have the draft. He's trying to close the gap down one more time. So they're going to have about 2 more full laps and a little bit more after that to settle this. That is 3rd place HYR Swin, who's closing in on the duo now. Shrek and Ludacris both basically putting 3/4 of their car or more into the dirt out of there, but Shrek is a little bit more stable in these corners, and Ludacris just struggles to run him down so much. Here comes Swin, and Swin's gonna deny Shrek the ideal line into this braking zone. Now, it wasn't the worst, but Swin then backs up. Shrek just a bit, big twitch, big slide off. And Swin's gonna have to get by Shrek again. All of a sudden, Shrek is held up by a prototype, and Ludacris is there once more. not much time. If Ludacris wants this position, he has to lunge for it. He's got to make a move. Elements has to make a 4th stop. And this is going to cycle Elements to dead last of all of the runners. That's really going to hurt the Ferrari's chance at winning overall in Prototype. Shrek gets kind of pushed, bullied offline there by Salty. And Aramis could still I think Aramis is still going to catch them here. All right, well, Ludacris, this is your last big chance going down the straightaway. Well, no, he'll get one more time because he'll have a little bit less than 3 minutes at the line. So he'll get another full lap in and just a little bit more. Oh, Ludacris went in deep, maybe too deep. Was it too deep? Shrek is just holding a nice steady line. Ludacris can pull him on the straights all he wants, but if you're so much better in the corners, Swin's had to pit again! All the humanity for Swin, he's had to pit again! And Ludacris to the inside of Shrek. This should put Aramis ahead of Swin. It does! Ludacris, Shrek, side by side, dragging the doors on each other through turns 1, through turn 2, now into turn 3, and Aramis goes for the run. Ludacris can't hold the line! Shrek just keeps catching Ludacris with that trip. He lets Ludacris get on his inside at turn 1. He holds it all the way down through turns 2 and 3, but then he backs out early and lets Ludacris go too deep into the corner, slide himself off track, and then Shrek just walks right by without issue. And now it's happened again. Ludacris has laid the pressure again to him. He's just making mistakes. And that's it. That's going to be it for Shrek then, I imagine, because all the prototypes are past them. Yes, Swin pitted, but Swin is too far back to catch this duo again before this is over. I think that's over. Shrek's gonna win this. Third place in GT, kind of pulled out a gap against everyone else, is Blade in the 87. Very silent, steady run for him today. We look at the BMWs at the head of the field. It is the last time down the back straightaway, and the gap is only opening in Shrek's favor. Seems to me like this fight is over, and the big thing that lost Ludacris this more than anything else was just making a series of mistakes, getting too aggressive, pushing too hard, throwing away time. 47 seconds left. Darkser has honestly closed in on FimRacer a bit, and Salty has done so as well. 25 seconds. I do think Salty and that 666 machine should still be able to take home the overall win of all the prototypes in the C lobby. I think that will be it. All right. The first corner of racing in the stint also looks like it will be the last corner of racing in the stint. Does Ludacris make a bonsai move? No. He thinks better of it. But he'll have to content himself with coming home second as time's up. Over. Plow! And Shrek wins. Ludacris second. Blade third in GT, Arkina, and Juicebox in a dead heat. I don't know how this one's going to be classified here. Well, it looks pretty obvious to me that Juicebox has the bumper ahead. So yeah, Juicebox definitely has that. The game says it's by a foot. I feel like that's a little bit less than a foot, though. That looks more to me like it's about 6 inches or so. But that McLaren having a slightly wider nose-to-tail run seems to be it. But yeah, this duo is 4th and 5th. Prius Killer pulls out a 6th in the Chevrolet ahead of Scorpio in the other Chevrolet. Then Spirit of War in the BMW will be 8th. 9th will be Delieve. 10th will be Banzin in the Porsche. 11th will be Flame, who's picked up a few spots after that big accident early on. Nismo, who had a separate accident we didn't see, will come home 17th, and LMP Elements had to make an extra stop. And for Elements, I would be very, very scared about their ability to come home with that top 10 in GT result for that team. That was a horrible final stint by Elements. Could have been one of the worst choke jobs we've ever seen. And Prototype's Fim Racer wins the second stint out of 4 that I've broadcasted. They won stint 3 as well. SFM Darkser brains the number 24 home second. RZM Salty, a little bit farther back, will be third in the 666 machine, and I do think this should be enough to bring this 666 machine home to win overall in the C lobby. LMP Aramis will come home 4th in the Playboy 822, finally a race without a series of misfortunes, and HYR Swin a long way back in 5th, about half a lap down to the leaders. But with that in mind, that will pretty much round out this result. We'll knock out an ad break here, and then after we see Fim Racer get moving, we'll try to reach out to our top 2 or 3 finishers in the 2 categories, see if they have anything they want to say after a very interesting final sit here for the 12 hours of Sebring. Don't go away if you want to hear a word from drivers. We'll be back in about 90 seconds. All right, welcome back here to Sebring. Fim Racer is your victor in the prototype category, but look, you can visibly see how close Darkser is, only about 465 feet away here. And once we see Fim Racer power down and start moving, we'll know that they will have just about finished getting distance here in the final stint, and we'll try to reach out to our top 3 finishers in the lobby: Fim Racer, Darkser, and Salty, along with our top 3 in GT, Shrek, Ludicrous, and Blade. Oh, there we go. Now Fin Racer rolls. All right, and that's Fin Racer. Had to move quite a ways up the track, but first. And with that in mind, we'll reach out to our top finishers here in the stint. Yep, that would be all. All right, and coming into the party right now is your winners in prototype. Fin Racer, same as last. Oh, actually, let me double check the stream, make sure that the stream will have audio. Yes, all right. Fin Racer, like last time, go ahead, include your audio. 2 stints I've covered with you in it, and you win both of them. Incredible run. What do you have to say about doing the same thing in the night? Hello, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Sorry, that was playing up on my end.
Yep. Go ahead and include your audio and tell us what it was like winning again, this time at night.
Well, night was a lot easier for me, to be honest. I didn't struggle that much with protos, but I definitely struggled a lot more with GTs, especially being held up in a lot of the slow corners. But it was an awesome race from the beginning, and at the end when I had a lot of traffic was also pretty cool.
All right, you did a fantastic job out there. I do want to ask one other question now of you. Where else can we see you race in Forza? What other stuff do you race in?
Oh, yeah, I don't really race much anymore, but you could see me in some of the UDP Hold events that they run. Maybe Shoemaker Cup I might join for a bit. But other than that, I'm pretty much done with racing as for now.
Well, for someone who's done with racing, you definitely have quite a bit of speed, and it'd be a shame if you were actually done, because that was really impressive what you did out there. I'd love to see more you putting that kind of drive out
also, there. I am doing Logitech finals later today.
Oh, that'll be interesting to keep an eye on then.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thanks for jumping in and talking with us twice today, Fin Racer. And now we want to talk with our second place finisher in prototypes, SFM Darkser. Darkser, go ahead, include your audio in the Xbox party. It's taken a while, but it seems like you finally got a good result out of that proto here. What do you have to say about your run out there?
Yeah, it was a really good race. Congrats to Fin Racer on a drive well driven. Just completely checked out there in the center of that stint, and I just did not have enough time to catch, so again, great job. My first stint, which you were also broadcaster for, I got a really strange lag warp incident where LMP Juicebox appeared to spear off to the right and then suddenly went through my car at about 1,000 miles per hour, destroyed the entire left side. Obviously not their fault, but kind of ruined my stint. So I was really glad to be able to have a trouble-free race, have some great side-by-side battles with really all the prototypes. And then the GT guys in this lobby did a great job being predictable. Everybody was really respectful and good. All in all, a great stint.
It was a pretty fantastic drive from you as well. Second place overall. Well, second place in this event. I don't know. I think maybe, I could be wrong. I think maybe you guys could be going for a top 16, top 17. I don't remember what your guys' results were in stints 4 or 5, but I think something like that. I'll have to check the numbers again. But anyways, great job out there, Darkser, and we look forward to seeing what you can do again in future Enduros. I believe the next Enduros will be the Indy 500 in May, and then Le Mans sometime in June or July, right?
Yeah, so we're doing, if you look at the real let me speak correctly here. If you go to the site formerly known as Twitter, and then go to @TORA, our pinned post has the Enduro schedule. So like you said, next big event, Indy 500 on May 17th and 18th. Then we have the 24 Heures du Mont or Le Mans, June 7th and 8th. So you'll see me broadcasting Indy and most likely racing Le Mans.
All right, we'll be looking forward to that. Thanks for jumping in, talking with us. And now I want to talk with our GT drivers here. Ludicrous Speed spent a large chunk of this race up front, but in the end, yes, too many feet too short. Is there anything you could have done different to win that stint?
I'll be honest, probably not. That was just a race that was totally back and forth the entire time. Sure, I spent the majority up front, but I imagine if I even made a comment in the middle of the race. Someone said, man, it'd be really great if the GTs in the lead could wreck out so I could pass them. I'm like, yeah, man, but it's just hard to pass here. And that's just the charm of Sebring. It's just hard to pass. You know, he probably could have taken me 5 or 6 times every single tire stint. It's just not a lot of places to pass. And if you do take a pass, the door's wide open to get passed right back. But it's a lesson in how the little things can change the outcome of a big race. All it took, I probably could have made one more pass for the lead with a lap to go, but prototype coming right by on the going into the hairpin, that draft weight yanked me just a few feet off of my racing line, and that was it. So no, great race by GT Shrek. I can't be too disappointed with the result. It was probably some of the most fun I've had in a TORA race in a long time.
It's also been some of the most fun I've had watching a GT TORA race in a while. Well, I say a while, really I just mean like 6-7 weeks, because Daytona was pretty good also. But yeah, a fantastic job out there. We'll be looking forward to seeing you in, there are a lot of different things that you run in. I'm not going to go through them all. But we'll look
not
forward,
really.
Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you at Sebring next week in real life. I'll be spying on the IMSA broadcast to see if I can actually see you on the track somewhere.
Yeah, you might see me checking on a guy face down, blackout drunk or something, just making sure he's still breathing.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the word from our second place finisher in the final stint, Ludicrous Speed. Now I want to talk with TNR Blade. Blade, a very solid third place finish here today. Clean, kind of nowhere in a big fight. And the other thing to consider with this, a P3 result, coupled with the Ferrari that was leading coming into the stint, finishing a very distant last of all the GT runners, and the Lambo that was second coming into the event, lagging out early, you might have a chance for that team of yours to bring home top 15 overall in GT.
Well, I mean, that would certainly be a very welcome surprise after qualifying 40th. But yeah, can't complain. Overall, this car has been so much better in race trim than it was in qualifying. Can't thank the team enough. Everyone really put the hours in. I couldn't be happier. I wish I could have done more to pull my own weight, but just real life getting in the way, and had practically no practice coming into qualifying. Fortunately, Larry and Glizzy both putting very respectable lap times, got us where we were. So yeah, very happy for the team. Stinks that 2 of our other GT programs had internet issues, dropped them down the order, but to be the second highest running TNR car, very happily will take it. And then just that, like you said, being mired in the middle of the pack for half the race, that one Corvette, man, I could not get around it. It just too much grip in the corners, but fortunately, Some expert fuel and tire strategy, again, worked on by the team. Got me ahead. Only just made it on fuel, but we made it nonetheless.
Only just make it still counts. They say close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. I guess in this case, you made close count as well in fuel games. Good job out there. What else can we see you racing in over the next few weeks and months before TORA's Indy 500?
Before the Indy 500, I got to double check schedule. I know Task Car's coming up. I wish I could have run a full season of that. Unfortunately, it looks like, again, scheduling is going to get in the way, but I will most certainly be looking to make an impact at Eagle Rock. So, looking forward to that one. One of my favorite tracks on this game.
You and I have completely opposite opinions in because I absolutely despise Eagle Rock. But yeah, all right. Well, we'll be looking forward. If not me, someone at least will be looking forward to maybe seeing you there. Then hopefully bring out another great podium. But great drive, great silent, strong drive out there, mate. It was good to see you have a good day there to round out the event. And with that
Appreciate
in mind,
it. Thank you very much.
Yep. And with that in mind, I'll pretty much wrap up our broadcast here from Sebring. I've been your host, Insane Leader 13, and once this is over, I'm going to go take the biggest eep of the week, probably. I thank everyone for joining us for the entire event today. I also want to thank SF1 Michaels, who went ahead and covered Stint 4, and I think did an in-car stream for Stint 5 as well. So thank you everyone for joining us. I look forward to seeing you all in the next Enduro, which I believe the next one I will cover will be PB1R's SEC Enduro next month. I don't know what the circuit is. I'll get to you sometime on that. But until then, farewell everyone, and goodbye.